can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, Senegal is furious and the government has now stepped in. The matter of the stripped AFCON title has escalated. Is this the darkest hour for Africa that is trying to show its might in the world of football? Venezuela beat USA in baseball to clinch the world title, a win that reverberated through the country, especially after Donald Trump's jibe before the final. Is USA losing ground amongst its neighbors in sporting arenas at least? And the newly formed Bangladesh government is gearing up to throw the BCB, the cricket board, under the bus for the whole T20 World Cup boycott row. What transpired and how has this reflected poorly on the subcontinent cricket nation that's fighting to rise? But first, the headlines. Starting with cricket, Indian batter Ishan Kishan will lead his IPL franchise Sunrisers Hyderabad for the initial games. He will step in for regular captain Pat Cummins, who's yet to recover from an injury. Abhishek Sharma will be his deputy. Sunrisers begin their campaign against defending champions Bengaluru in the IPL on the 28th of March. On to football, Argentina ace Lionel Messi reached another milestone. The footballer scored his 900th career goal during Inter Miami's clash against Nashville. But even that historic achievement failed to guide Inter Miami home. The MLS side were knocked out of CONCACAF Champions Cup following a 1-1 draw. Champions League now, Barcelona netted 7 goals to enter the quarterfinals. The Spanish side beat Newcastle FC 8-3 on aggregate. Rafinha and Robert Lewandowski scored a brace each. Lamine Yamal chipped in with 1 goal. Meanwhile, English club Liverpool continued their UCL run with a 4-1 aggregate win over Galatasaray. Mohamed Salah made a major statement by scoring in the key clash. In updates from the World Cup, Iran continues to prepare for the tournament as they await a decision on their venue. The country has urged FIFA to move their matches to Mexico, this owing to tensions with US. Iranian Football Federation President Mehdi Taj said they are boycotting America and not the World Cup. And summing it up with badminton, India have been clubbed with top seed China in the upcoming Thomas and Uber Cup Championship. The men's side won the title back in 2022, whereas the women's best came when they finished third in 2014 and 2016. India are one of the favorites at the event. The prestigious team event will be held in Denmark between the 24th of April and the 3rd of May. We're still reeling from what has been the most shocking development in the world of football. It's only been a little over a day since CAF, Confederation of African Football, announced a dramatic overturning of a result that took place nearly 2 months ago. They stripped Senegal as winners of AFCON and awarded the title to Morocco instead. And that has sparked massive outrage. The government of Senegal has stepped in to demand a proper investigation into possible corruption. CAF is under fire, but more than anything, African football is under threat of regressing. Is this the worst chapter in Africa's footballing history? Africa has always had to fight to be seen, fight to claim their place in footballing excellence. They had to fight perceptions and constant questions of whether they truly belong at the top. It's been a seemingly never-ending cycle, and this year's AFCON was supposed to put a full stop to all speculations and doubts. It was supposed to end the debate about whether Africa is top-tier stuff, and it did. Infrastructurally, it was magnificent. The fans, the attendance, and the passion was all there. It was world-class. The talent for all to see and applaud. The tournament delivered on all counts. Then, of course, came a dramatic final that you'd want to forget, but one that still saw a winner. So what happens next? Morocco goes crying to CAF, and after almost 2 months, CAF says, sorry Senegal, you aren't the winner, on a technicality. A technicality that has falsely and conveniently been fit in to suit the narrative. And now the matter has escalated with the government seething. The saying goes, two wrongs don't make a right, and it couldn't have been more apt. But CAF seems to have done just that, tried to smooth a topsy-turvy final day antics with yet another topsy-turvy decision. And all that it has done is show African management and football in the poorest of light.
This should never have been allowed to happen. And the fact that CAF Appeals Committee have done that is disgraceful, is shameful, and it sets African football back 100 years.
And that there is the sad, heart-wrenching truth. Africa has managed to self-sabotage. This one decision has overturned all the hard work and efforts that went into pulling off a brilliant tournament. Africa wants the world to take them seriously. They want the rest of the world to acknowledge their brilliance, their talent, their football, and not mock it. But it is decisions like this one that very easily reinforce the very narrative Africa is fighting to change and quash for decades now. Now, what will be remembered of AFCON is not the contests or the talented players vying for glory or the passion that came through or the fans flocking in huge numbers to support and cheer their countries. It will be remembered for inefficiency. That and the uncanny art of making a bigger blunder in an attempt to correct the previous one. Africa has talent, and there has never been a dearth of footballing passion in this continent, whether it's from the players or from the fans itself. But where is the system that needs to protect, support, and push the sport to grow? That clearly seems to be the backbencher in this story. And it is moments like this that really diminish all that Africa have tried to achieve for decades. That is the thought that should truly hurt every single African invested in their football. The one thing you absolutely cannot do in the sport is a self-goal. Africa has just managed to do that, and gloriously so. Venezuela versus USA. Not in diplomatic corridors, but on the baseball diamond, and this time Venezuela conquered the fight. They stunned the United States 3-2 to lift the World Baseball Classic, their first ever title, and one that carried far more weight than just sport, because this victory came against a backdrop of rising political tension and some very loud remarks from US President Donald Trump himself. The World Baseball Classic this year, it wasn't just a tournament. It was a festival, one that delivered headlines. Canada, punching above their weight, reached the quarterfinals for the very first time. The Dominican Republic, power-packed as always. And Italy, the underdogs with nerves of steel, a stunning semi-final run that nobody saw coming. But above all, one team played with something extra. Venezuela. Not just skills, not just tactics, but pure emotion, a sense of identity and pride. Because let's be honest, if you had asked anyone before the start of the tournament, the favorites were clear: Team USA. After all, this is their sport, one that's deeply woven into American culture. Even without a full-strength squad, they were expected to dominate and win this one. But sport doesn't read scripts, especially when Venezuela had come to rewrite it. And a comment from Donald Trump added fuel to their fire.
Good things are happening to Venezuela lately. I wonder what this magic is all about. Statehood, 51, anyone.
A remark that didn't land lightly. US-Venezuela relations are already strained. We saw it, we know it. Years of tension, sanctions, distrust, and then, of course, the capturing of their then-president, Nicolas Maduro. So when that statement dropped, it became motivation. But here's what stood out. Venezuela didn't respond with words. No press conference drama, no social media wars, no headline-chasing controversy. Instead, they said just one thing. We're here to speak baseball. Something they did, especially when it mattered. A 3-2 victory over the USA. That was their answer. But the story didn't end there. Even after the defeat, Trump doubled down on his rhetoric. But by then, it didn't matter because the scoreboard had already spoken. And let's be real here. This isn't the first time Team USA has been humbled by their neighbors. In ice hockey, Canada edged them out 3-2 in the Four Nations face-off early last year. In football, Mexico defeated them 2-1 in the CONCACAF Gold Cup final later. Across sporting events, the narrative is shifting because here's the truth. Sport isn't geopolitics. It doesn't care about global influence. It doesn't reward power. It rewards performance. And that comes when a team executes, and with composure, and with a big heart.
My country needs that championship. I just want to make my people proud. That's what I did today.
And that's exactly what this was about. Not statements, not narratives, not politics, but a play for pride. One that Venezuela wore with honor. In one of the most beautiful symbols of the tournament was their dugout drum, where every base hit became a beat. Every home run turned into a celebration. Every moment became a reminder that sport at its core brings joy. Because while America talked power, Venezuela played with passion. While USA made tall claims, Venezuela made the runs. While Trump tried to dominate narratives, his neighbor dominated the game. So what's the takeaway here? This wasn't just Venezuela beating the USA. This was sport reminding the world that no matter how big you are, no matter how powerful you think you are, on the field, it's all even Stevens and you have to earn every single point. And maybe that's the lesson here. It's great when leaders love sport. Everyone likes a world leader promoting sports. It brings visibility, it brings energy and excitement. But when you push your political narratives through sport, you better be sure it wouldn't backfire. Venezuela taught America that lesson. The question is, did USA and Trump in particular register it? Bangladesh cricket is in the middle of a storm. Their government has formed a 5-member probe committee to investigate irregularities in the Bangladesh Cricket Board elections and look into the controversy surrounding the 2026 T20 World Cup boycott episode. The BCB continues to ask the government to shut down the probe, but the bigger question is this: is Bangladesh throwing its cricket board under the bus? The primary talking point in the build-up to the T20 World Cup this year was Bangladesh. The country wanted to move their matches out of India, stating security concerns. Yes, the political tensions were high, but ICC found no threats. Result, Bangladesh were removed and were replaced by Scotland. The matter ended there, at least from the ICC's perspective. No penalty, no fines. But now the Bangladesh government feels there was a problem in that decision. They want that matter and the election of the BCB president to be investigated. But here's the thing. In international sports, government interference is not just a concern, it's a huge red flag. Many sporting nations across sporting disciplines have been banned exactly for this, which is why the BCB is requesting the government to drop the investigation. But seems like the government will persist and don't look like they will give up anytime soon.
We will try to find out why we didn't go to the World Cup. We have to understand why our sports diplomacy fell short. But my next step will come after I have spoken to the ICC.
On one hand, you have a government claiming accountability, transparency. On the other, a cricket board defending its autonomy. But here's where things get a little more complicated. Before the regime change, the push for boycott actually came from the top officials and not the cricket board.
I think we did not get justice from the ICC. Whether we will play in the World Cup or not is entirely a government decision.
So seems like this new government wants to rake up a matter that should have been put to bed a while back. and get the cricket board to take the fall for it, because the blame now seems to be placed squarely on the BCB. So let's call it what it looks like: a complete lack of alignment, a system speaking in two voices, and a government that probably wants a fresh slate, starting with the cricket board. That raises a more serious concern. Is the Bangladesh government leaving its own cricket system hanging? Because think about the optics here. This is a time to back the administration, a board that only followed an order. But instead of doing that, they want to punish them. What message does that send? To their players in particular, to the global cricketing community, Bangladesh is a cricketing nation that is transitioning. They recently outplayed former champions Pakistan in the ODI series. Their performance at the international level looks promising. What this latest episode will do is peg them back. And in modern cricket, the moment politics starts dictating sporting administration, the credibility of the system begins to crack. We've seen this before across nations, across sports, where governance battles off the field end up hurting performances on it. And Bangladesh cannot afford that right about now, not at a time when their cricket is on an upward trajectory. Because let's be clear, the talent is there, the passion is evident, and the fan base is massive. But without stability at the top, none of that really translates into consistent success. Bangladesh could face consequences that go far beyond this controversy. The question is, will they fix it in time, or will this become another case of a system undermining itself? Time for last serve. Formula One world champion Lando Norris has unlocked one more achievement. He's set to become the first ever international F1 star to be unveiled at the Madame Tussauds in London next summer. We bring you behind the scenes footage of Norris preparing to get waxed. The McLaren driver had one complaint though: too much smiling. Take a look. Not too bad, not too shabby for the defending F1 champion. But that wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.